Oh no, 3 count broke up. How will we ever survive? I'm John Rethlin with a retro review of WCW Thunder from November 1st, 2000. Yep, we're getting just random tag teams thrown together and everything, and one match in particular that should have not lasted as long as it did. Thunder by this point was absolute dog shit. I don't understand how this show existed as long as it did. Really, TBS should have never greenlit this show. And I mean, sometimes it had some good matches, but really the format of it was just to throw people on, from the roster on a show that not that many people were going to watch. Because after 98, the ratings were fucking tanking. I mean, Thunder was like almost a kiss of death to WCW because it bled the profits dry. It was just really, really shit. But yeah, 3 count basically breaks up in this opening tag match because 3 counts in the ring, they're arguing everything. Evan Courageous feels he's the leader of the team. They face the Young Dragons. Leia Meow is also there. And it leads to Evan pinning, Jamie Son after, he steals a pin from Gregory Helms, or Shane Helms, if you will. And then they beat him up, and then Jamie Son gets unmasked, so it's going to be Jamie Son, or Jamie Noble, rather, and Evan Courageous against the 2 Young Dragons, and then against 2 members of 3 count. I'm not really sure that's how math works, but it did lead to a cool match at Starrcade 2000 that was a fucking car crash. But then we get Bam Bam Bigelow just showing up randomly and beating up Crowbar. And I love Bam Bam Bigelow, but by this point he was fucking washed. Like, he was beat up, he was out of shape, he'd taken a lot of bumps over the years. And this is just the most random return, because he hadn't been seen on WCW programming in a number of months. And then Primetime shows up, and promos were never his strong suit. And then Chavo with Major Guns versus Elix Skipper, all because Chavo mocked Primetime on a recent Nitro. Kind of makes sense. It was a bit of a ridiculous impersonation. This is awkward as fuck, which is sad because Primetime's a really good athlete, so's Chavo. And both were, pretty damn young at this point. Chavo had been in the wrestling business a little bit longer, but man, Major Guns just doing the whole boob thing. She's going to use her assets. It wasn't very good. This wasn't very good at all. We get the ring shot eventually. The Grey Cup ring. 1, 2, 3. I don't understand why these matches happened, because a lot of them were just awkward. Nash joins commentary because earlier Nash and Palumbo had talked about how Palumbo was going to beat some sense into Shawn Stasiak since he had abandoned the Thrillers. And Shawn Stasiak, perfect Shawn, if you will, and I can appreciate that wordplay, was going to take on Chuck Palumbo, but he was laid out backstage. Oh no, who did this? Nash is going to check on him, and Stasiak is like, what the hell's going on? Obviously, this was going to lead to some kind of, blow up eventually, but it was just a bit awkward how they did it. We then get Ray and Kidman versus the Boogie Knights. And, yeah, I will say this. Ray and Kidman were a good team, but I think Ray and Hoovy had better chemistry. Obviously, Hoovy was not with the company anymore by this point. The whole Australian tour didn't exactly work out well. But, yeah, the Boogie Knights. Now, I would say this. The match would have been better if Disco hadn't been involved, because Disco was just goddamn atrocious. I mean, Alex Wright, even by this point, wasn't great, and he was still young. He was in his mid-20s, but he was totally checked out. I don't blame him. The whole Berlin character didn't work out. They did hit some good moves and everything. Disco got hit in the groin, not that it would have hurt him, the ballless bitch that he is. And then Kid Crusher from Kidman, 1, 2, 3. Thankfully, they didn't call it the Kidman Kid Crusher, because that would have been really bad if they had used the same lettering at the beginning. So, anyway, yeah, Kidman and Ray get the victory, and then the Wall takes on Lance Storm. Oh no, Lance Storm has some hired help. It's Ming, because Ming has to do this to keep his job. And this was awkward, very awkward. Ming, by this point, I mean, he still could beat the shit out of almost anybody in wrestling because he's just that tough, but you get chair to the Wall's head. Storm's on commentary, but Ming gets laid out through the table, 1, 2, 3. So we're just letting this shit go because the Wall's in the ring. Storm then yells at Ming, and that doesn't work. He uses a Tongan death grip, so now Storm can't cut a promo. Then Storm makes his entrance, again, to have a match, which I don't get. Just have him out there. You already are wasting resources and, wasting time, having extra entrances. Just keep the guy out there. He can't talk, and does the Canadian national anthem. And then we get Norman Smiley versus Lance Storm. These are 2 really good technicians in the ring. Storm was a 10-year veteran. Norman Smiley was a veteran as well. This match went on twice as long as it should have, and the crowd agreed. It got really awkward. It got really sloppy. I think they were just calling it on the fly. And again, sometimes, greats cannot work things out. And this was the case. It was not very good. The Maple Leaf, for the win, and then Meng comes out, and we get an awkward kick spot where Storm's supposed to kick Meng, and he's supposed to no-sell it, but his kick barely hits him. I mean, I'm not saying you need to hit him full force, but it was just so goddamn awkward, and then Meng's like, ah. And Meng would leave the company 2 months later, well, about 2.5 months later, and join WWE, while he was a hardcore champion, by the way. I don't blame him. He made the right decision. Probably got more money from WWE. And he got to try and bring Rikishi along as a heel. That didn't work. Then we get Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam 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 Bigelow, that is. Apparently, I'm just going to add Bam 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 versus Crowbar. Bam Bam just back all of a sudden. It was very awkward. It was sad to see because he really wasn't in all that great a shape by this point. And that's not knocking, because everybody eventually gets to where, they have some issues and injuries pile up, but Bam Bam just couldn't move all that well. He eventually hit Greetings from Asbury Park, 1, 2, 3. And then we get Jarrett and Vampiro, who was nursing a broken neck, by the way, or dealing with a broken neck, taking on Mike Awesome and Sting. These feuds were continuing. I believe Vampiro would be gone from the company, if not right after this, very soon after this. Yeah, guitar, the bat gets stopped, the bat stops a guitar shot, and then the Awesome Bomb, 1, 2, 3. There really wasn't much of anything to this. I'm just going to crumple these up because it wasn't even much of a goddamn show. It was just there. So that's all I got to really say about Thunder. What do you guys think of Thunder at this point? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm Jarrett I'll see you soon.